Morning everybody. I thought I'll do a progress report. So when this alternator arrived here, it didn't have a bearing in the front here because it's supposed to connect to an engine on this end. Now it's got an adapter plate here with a bunch of holes in, and these pins that push into the plate where the engine would adapt to, and the engine would have a bearing here which would be obviously to fit a bearing onto this side. Now I had to make a plan this side, and I fitted a big bearing here so that the alternator can run really on its own when the motor has been removed. Now I had to have a lot of plates cut from a company in Richards Bay who does plasma cutting, but they also do it with laser, and I'm sure that you'd be able to find somebody in your area who does this kind of work. It's not difficult at all. I downloaded a little program just to draft it all up for them, sent it through, and they had it ready with me within a day or two. Now what I had to do then is to have some plates cut or some metal cut which would form two flywheels. Now the flywheels are supposed to be quite heavy so that they could take up or keep up the momentum whenever there is a demand on the system. So the way it works is that the alternator has an AVR, which means a automatic voltage regulator, and this regulator would alter the current flowing through the stator of the alternator, which obviously, as the demand increases, the current inside the stator increases to make it a bigger magnet, and as it's a bigger magnet, it will be able to deliver higher current. So the AVR has this ability to increase and decrease the current on the stator as more power is needed. So the result of that would be that the moment it adjusts the magnetic field higher, it would automatically take more power to drive the system at exactly the same rate. The objective being to keep it at the same rate so that when the demand is there, the revolutions of the engine wouldn't drop. Now normally on a generator with the engine this side, the moment there's demand on the alternator, the engine would rev up automatically to keep the same amount of revolutions on the stator of the alternator. Now to achieve this with the motor that we are doing is I had to put two heavy weights onto the motor, which will basically maintain the momentum when the demand increases here. Now in theory the magnetic field would be strong enough to power through something like that, but to keep it all consistent, to keep it all running very well and not put extra strain on anything else, the two weights here just maintain the momentum, and once they are going, there's very little that will stop them. So what I had to do then is I had to cut flanges to be able to fit it to the shaft, and then fit it to the flange plate or the motor plate that came with the alternator, and then I put a double bearing in this side. Well, at the end of the day now I have to find a driving mechanism, so I've opted for a light coupling, which they use either Hall effect or a light coupling. I've done all my work for these motors that I've built in the past. I did with a light coupling, which is very simple. It's just a infrared LED and a sensor LED, which is really an open collector transistor which reacts to light. So the moment that the light shines on it, it will switch on as it's needed. So what will happen is that will be sitting on this side where it connects into the light system through this little plate that I've left on here, and I will be machining slots into here, which will be situated, 9 of them, around this plate that is going to be turning inside this thing just to let the light through when it's needed. So when the light comes through, it will switch on a coil. Now the coils are situated in the slot you can see here. Now we have a ring plate which also was cut for us. So this plate will be sitting here, and it will be carrying the coils in. I'll cast the coils into a resin here, which I'll show you. So when that happens, each coil has to be basically monitored by a system, so that the coils will line up with the slots that I would put in here, which when this spins around, it will just open and close the holes onto the light sensor. And when that happens, it energizes the magnet and repels the neodymium magnets, which are situated in 2 slots that I've cut into the metal here. Now, it's a very easy system to power. It will run on DC, and obviously this one would be AC, but when the system is running, this one would be supplying the little bit of power that this would need to go. It's I say little bit because it's insignificant when it comes to the amount that this alternator can deliver. You'd probably be wondering how the system would be spun up. There would be 2 little batteries here, which would give us a 24-volt drive power to power the coils initially. As soon as the alternator, or as soon as the motor is running fast enough, then it switches the batteries off and it goes to the power here. And this power then obviously will charge this. So to cut a long story short, it's at a point now where I'm waiting for components. We've got the magnets coming in from America, we've got the coil wires coming in from England, and all the components have been ordered, but there's really not much else I can do until the spares arrive. The wire, I've made a first coil, which I've used a 0.37 wire, which there will be 9 of them situated inside that ring and inside this slot here. When this is all finished, I will analyze it for you and show you how the assembly works, so that you know, if you do consider making one of these for yourself, then it will give you a bit of guidance. Yeah, basically that is what I have to tell you for this week. There is just one thing that I also would like to mention, seeing as that this channel isn't really about building alternators. It's more about spiritual and the reason why we are here. So in the last week I've watched a little bit of YouTube, and I see that our President Ramaphosa has really blown a lot of steam up all the big companies like Pfizer and Bayer and those guys who are now making these vaccines for humanity. And now they've come up with a new strain of COVID, which is a result of the vaccinations that took place. And now the vaccinated people have become breeding grounds for different strains of COVID. Now, if I really have to think hard about this whole situation, and I see the whole corporate takeover happening. I mean, small businesses going to take more and more strain, because, you know, it was so easy for me to have these magnets flown in from America, DHL from America, and the wire from England. All of it is just coming together. I mean, these companies are so well organized, so well set up, that the smaller companies who would normally get these things for people are really going to fall away. And that's a big concern. So I think at this point in time it is of vital importance to know that it is better to keep your immunity up and avoid getting sick from that point of view. And there are two ways of doing that. The first way to get your immunity up is to get your mind right. Now, to get your mind right, you need to have some sort of spiritual connection, some sort of spiritual elevation, so to speak. And the other way is obviously to eat the right food. Now, that's where the problem lies. Our food source in the world is putrid at the moment. Everything is laced with monosodium glutamates and preservatives, and also from a seed point of view, we are facing so many genetically modified seeds that the world is going short of basic nutrients in our food. Now, the problem that we face is that the body will slowly degrade from eating all of these genetically modified foods and preservatives, that the immune system falls behind. My partner and I had COVID when we were in Gauteng a year or so, in beginning of 2020. And I had really no symptoms, just feeling a little bit fluish, bit of a headache. So she had a huge headache and basically stayed in bed for a day. But the friends we were visiting both ended up in hospital. One was in ICU for 2 weeks. Now, he likes a little bit of whiskey, and I do believe that that's where the problem lies. I drink a little bit of red wine, but nothing serious. So the thing would be to get yourself healthy, so that you don't have to face what your new government is trying to do to you. The vaccinations are not the answer. Keeping yourself right on the right side of God is the answer. So, you know, to cut a long story short, I would just like to plant the seed that you need to keep yourself healthy. It's not about vaccinations. God said that these things will happen at this time, and we are facing a new world order takeover as presidents of the countries are basically priming people for that takeover, which already is really actually happening. So if you go and look in Revelation, you'll see that there is a situation that will happen at this time, and that situation is busy staring us all in the face. The company that is going to fall down is actually the Crown Corporation, which is BlackRock. Now, at the end of the day, to be immune is really the way to go forward from here. There is no other way. Relying on these chemical companies who already are making the genetically modified foods that people are eating, which forms a huge circle of they're making the food rotten, so that you eat rotten food and then you get sick from the rotten food, and then you'll need their chemicals to heal yourself. And this is a vicious circle that is happening in the world at the moment. I wish for you to realize and to see these things, so that you know how to protect yourself and your families. And I thank you very much for taking the time for watching this video again. So my next video will be a little bit more advanced than this. Hopefully I will be showing you how the motor runs, because I have to wait 6 to 7 days now before the wire is dispatched or maybe even arrives here. So until then, I bid you farewell and thank you for taking the time to watch. Bye.